Man, these modern day black women are out of order. So I wanted to do this piece on this movie, Coming to America with Eddie Murphy. And I was having a conversation with my brother recently, my biological brother, same mother, same father, about modern day black women and how most so called black men are either perverts, simps, or little troopers for women. And he told me he had a conversation with an older so-called black man, and the older so-called black man said that a lot of men kill each other over women, and I disagree. I disagree that it's about the women. It's not about the women. It's about the man. The men that seem to get excited or get violent over women, it's not the woman's fault, it's the man's fault. Okay, women don't have that type of power or authority over the man. It's the man that is the one that's not rising to his purpose. Okay, a man's higher purpose is not to be a crash test dummy for women. And the only woman that deserves that kind of reaction is a man's wife. Okay, so you have a lot of these fellas who like to crash out over females that are not their wife. That's not the woman's fault. That's the man's fault. And I'm going to explain this. In this movie, Coming to America, Eddie Murphy's father was the king. And his father didn't have a problem raising his voice and commanding things. Okay, he would be very commanding. Okay, so he had to like fall back. Well, he didn't have to, but his father decided to fall back and allow his son to soil his royal oats. Now, in the movie Coming to America, Eddie Murphy was bored when he was bored with his birthright. I'm gonna put it to you. I'm gonna say it like that. The so-called black man has a birthright, and it's a divine birthright. And what comes with that divine birthright is that the people around the man knows that he has a birthright, and they honor his birthright. They don't criticize and scoff at his birthright. Okay, so Eddie Murphy in the movie, his father was asking him, does he have sex with the bathing ladies? Um, and Eddie Murphy was bored with this kingdom, with this whole setup. Arsenio Hall had a moment where he was sparring with Eddie Murphy, and Arsenio Hall was pretty much upset at Eddie Murphy because of this boredom that Eddie Murphy had for his birthright. So throughout the movie, Arsenio Hall would even act like he's the prince because he understood what comes with being what comes with that birthright. Okay, having access to the women, having access to the kingdom, and okay, so modern day men fail to serve their higher purpose. Okay, there's a thing called a legacy. You know, your children and the children and the assets, and there is also what comes with that is people around the fellas are supposed to honor his birthright, not scoff and criticize and try to tear the man down because of his birthright. Now, I honor this birthright, and according to this the scripture, what comes with this birthright is a few things like permissions, okay, multiple wives, okay, and and a kingdom, okay, and a legacy, okay. All of this stuff today in the West has been looked down upon if a man tries to exercise his multiple women permission. Okay, so I just think that when I was talking to my brother, I'm explaining to him how, like I said, the men that crash out over females, and it seems as if it's over the woman. It's not over the woman, okay? And I referenced Coming to America when I was explaining this to my brother because, like I said, Eddie Murphy had this woman right here that's on the screen. And she is ideally the perfect divine wife, okay? And I'm going to get into this scene where he's like, asking her what does she like and all this kind of stuff. And her responses, he didn't like her responses. He felt like he wanted a woman to have her own mindset, okay, like these Western women do, which divides the household, okay? The modern day woman in America, she's, first of all, she's delusional, okay? And then her image is toxic, and her behavior is toxic, and she doesn't subscribe to the same values as the men do when it comes to the Bible, okay? So we get into this behavior between the two sexes. Okay, why is there so much conflict between man and woman, so-called black man, so-called black woman today? Is because these so-called black women, they have the mindset of a prostitute, and it's all transactional most of the time. Okay, and women are not trying to secure a husband. At the same time, they're trying to secure education or secure finances. Okay, they don't want to share their money and contribute to their relationships. So that's why there's so many single so-called black women today, because their attitude about making money and securing a man, they put money above their family, and they put their money before they secure a husband. They don't think and feel that they should share their wealth, their finances with a man, or to secure the money to contribute to their relationship. So you got a lot of so-called black women around here who's claiming to be superior just because they have an income and they have a job. Okay, so very delusional. Okay, Kevin Samuels touched on that, and the beautiful sister Crimson Cure touched on that too. Okay, so I just wanted to get into this real quick because when she jumps up and down on her leg and he makes her bark like a dog, okay, these are things that he didn't like. And I don't think barking as a dog and jumping up on her leg is what she would always see herself doing. I just think she was displaying to him that she was for him. Okay, she was groomed to be a wife, something that these modern day Western black women are not, so-called black women are not raised to be. Okay, most of these women are delusional, and they like to subscribe to feminism, okay, which again divides the house and divides her from the man. Okay, there's such a disconnect between these modern day so-called black women and the modern day so-called black man because of these separate value systems. So when it came down to this in this movie, Eddie Murphy, he demonstrated how he did not like the woman that was groomed to be with him and for him. Okay, he totally didn't like his position of power. Okay, so in part two of Coming to America, he had already been to America. And when he married this woman, McDowell's, the girl that worked at McDowell's, okay, she already had a man, okay, and the father of the woman felt that Eddie Murphy was a better choice because he was a prince, okay, so he actually encouraged his daughter to be with this man. Now, when Eddie Murphy was in Queens, New York, he was avoiding his father. He came. I remember he came to his residence where he was renting while he was in America. So he was over there paying rent. Okay, something he didn't have to worry about if he was back at his kingdom. But he wanted to come west, and deal with these modern day Western so-called black women, which are again, they're not wives. Okay, Western women are not wives. Okay, you have your few, but too many of these so-called black women in the West are not wives, and they don't even make the best concubines either. Okay, they call themselves side pieces. Most of them are 304s, just being hoes and prostituting, and they have a mindset of a prostitute, which is not a wife. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Okay, so I wanted to get into this because I'm not encouraged to find a wife over here. I'm more encouraged to leave these women alone and to focus on my higher purpose. And my higher purpose doesn't involve a woman. So again, he avoided his father. He came home. He saw these rose petals on the ground, so he knew that his father had been there, and he like literally avoided his father. His father was trying to get him to return home to his kingdom to inherit his birthright, but Eddie Murphy was avoiding his birthright. Okay, he wanted to come to the West and dwell amongst these Western women. Okay, so to further this, all right, before I start this video, to further this, when he married the woman from McDowell's, he brought the woman back to his homeland. And I remember in the movie, part two, when he found out that he had a son by that comedian Leslie, I forget her name, Leslie something. His Leslie, the baby mother, she refused to send her son to see her father. She refused to send the son to Eddie Murphy without her accompanying him. So because she realized he was a prince, so she tagged along with the son to go to Eddie Murphy and his kingdom. Okay, now he was married, so he ruined his birthright. He ruined his birthright by dealing with these women in the West. And the way that he ruined his birthright is that he had a baby mother now. Okay, not even his concubine. He just had a baby mother. And Leslie was ratchet. She was toxic. She was ugly. Okay, and she wasn't a wife. Okay, she played the baby mother role very well. Okay, having children out of wedlock, not married, and they glorified this. Okay, because the laws of the Bible promote that the woman is a wife, and she's if she's not a wife, she's a concubine. She has to be a virgin to be married, or if she was previously married, she has to be a widow. Okay, because the women of the West don't follow in the footsteps of the law, okay, that pertains to women. Okay, the so-called black woman in the West, the modern day black woman, so-called black woman in America, she glorifies being a single mother. Okay, and she glorifies having children out of wedlock as well. So here is Eddie Murphy with the baby mother and his wife, the one from McDowell's. And I remember when he was he made a gesture, or he made a remark about Leslie being his baby mother. And I remember the woman that he married, she told him that everyone has their secrets. And he was like, well, what do you mean? And she was like, well, I'm not a virgin. I wasn't a virgin when you married me. So that's strike two. Okay, strike two was pretty much that was strike three, because he was all out of strikes once he got to America, cut off his braid, going to the clubs, trying to look for a wife in the club, which is a definite red flag. Okay, wives are not in the club. Okay, so she told him that she wasn't a virgin after she married him. Plus, he had two daughters by the woman that he married, which were not suitable to inherit the kingdom. So he needed a son. So the part two was really Eddie Murphy having his decision instead of the initial birthright that his father was going to pass down to him, which was rightfully, which was traditional. So he didn't even have the traditional birthright. He ruined his birthright. Okay, it's not the women. The women were not to blame. And it seems like modern day black men like to blame the women for the reason that the so-called black man is a crash test dummy, or while he's, willing to get violent or go to jail or delete people because of this woman. It's not because of the woman. It's because he does not live up to his birthright. Okay, and I wanted to point this out because I told this to my brother. It's not the woman's fault that men are not being men. Okay, it's the men's fault. Okay, in a lot of these cases, you have a lot of men that are raised by these toxic, delusional women that do not follow in the footsteps of their portion of the law. Okay, so they're not even suitable to be wives because of the way the women live their life and go about making their own decisions, okay, and trying to make decisions for the men, okay. But when we come into our manhood, of course, I'm talking about the men avoiding their purpose, avoiding their higher purpose, okay. It's like the men rather not serve their higher purpose because the women are not compatible with their higher purpose. So he fears losing her if he serves his higher purpose. And like we've heard it all before. With the men rather not serve their higher purpose because the woman says things like she's not going to tolerate a man with multiple women. She's not going to put up with a man dealing with other women. So instead of him serving his higher purpose, which allows him to have multiple women, he'd rather not serve his higher purpose just to keep this one woman. It's almost like when a so-called black man is religious and he believes that Jesus is white and he serves, he attends religion and he married this woman that's religious. But when you try to teach him to keep the laws of God and that he has to enforce these laws of God upon his household, and then he rather not serve the Most High because he don't want to lose this woman. And we've seen a lot of this before with men who keep the commandments, and his woman is a Christian, and his woman don't agree with the commandments, but he does. More than likely, that relationship is going to split up because she refuses to accept her portion of the law. So that's what I'm trying to paint this example here, where men rather not keep the commandments because he don't want to lose this woman because she does not want to keep the commandments. Okay, so that's what I'm saying with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy rather avoided this woman, which in part two, Wesley Snipes was her brother, and even Wesley Snipes even Wesley Snipes wanted to fight Eddie Murphy because of this birthright. Okay, and Wesley Snipes would have made an excellent brother-in-law because the kingdoms around Eddie Murphy's kingdom understood that these women were groomed to be wives. Okay, unlike Western women. Okay, so Eddie Murphy he was attracted to these Western women once he got to Queens, New York, because he was in the wrong mindset of not wanting his birthright. Okay, he wanted to choose his own wife outside of a woman that was groomed to be his wife, because the women that are groomed to be our wives, of course, they're going to like what you like. Okay, they're supposed to like what you like as the man. But you got a lot of men over here who avoid their higher purpose, and they actually get to the point where they disagree with their higher purpose. Okay, so I felt sorry for the king, Eddie Murphy's father, because he was losing his child to a non-traditional marriage and a non-traditional way of thinking. Okay, so getting into this video real quick. Let's watch this a little bit. So this is the queen to be, and she was definitely a queen to be. This is what kings rather have. See, Arsenio Hall and his father, Eddie Murphy's father, are like, oh my goodness, she definitely is a queen to be, okay? Because this is a beautiful thing to get a woman that's groomed for you, okay? As This woman is groomed to be a wife. Western women are not groomed to be a wife. So-called black women are not groomed to be wives in 2023. She has a father. Unlike these women over here in America, they don't like their fathers, okay? They disagree with having a father because their mothers ran their fathers away. So here goes Eddie Murphy, okay? He's uncomfortable and he's not in the mood for his birthright. He's not in the mood for a woman that's groomed to be his wife. He don't like how well put together this is. So this is what I'm saying right here.
May I talk to you alone for a moment, please?
Okay, everybody is wondering what's his problem. Let's get it. Okay, let's get it. My bad. Let me go up here. Okay. Everybody is happy because this is traditional for a woman to be groomed. We used to love to see our women and men being together. But because Eddie Murphy has this...
May I talk to you alone for a moment, please?
This non-traditional way of thinking, he messed up the birthright, all right? It's not the women's fault.
Excuse us for a moment.
It may seem like it's the woman's fault in America, but it's not. Like, I'm talking about when you're dealing with a man and a woman, okay? I'm past parents. Not the parents' fault, not the single mother's fault. I'm talking about the men, okay? And even the women are wondering what's going on here. Because she's groomed to be his wife, okay? Something that kings would die for, okay? In 2023, I would die to have one of these women, okay, that is groomed to be my wife. Unlike these women who disagree with the commandments, disagree with everything. So watch this.
Am I not all you dreamed I would be?
Beautiful.
Oh, fine. Beautiful. It's just that if we're going to be married, I thought we should talk to each other, get to know each other.
See, he want to get to know her, and there's nothing to get to know. She's groomed to be your wife.
Yes, I know this, but I would like to know about you. What do you like to do?
See that? So, hold up. Damn. Let me go back. I keep pushing this back. My bad. Let me get up here. My finger accidentally hitting this button. Okay. Let me get in here. Okay. He wants to... Damn, I can't... I'm trying to hit this pause button, but it keeps going back. Let me go back up here. I think I'm at the screen. Okay, there we go. So, yeah. Everyone, like I said, everybody's confused, and he wants to know... I want to get to know you. You know, there's nothing to get to know. When you're dealing with America, these men, so, you know, when you're in the wrong mindset like he's talking right now, he's like, I want to get to know you. You can get to know her along the way. But right now, she was groomed to be your wife. And he's being a complete idiot, and he's inserting his wrong thinking. Okay?
Married, I thought we should talk to each other, get to know each other.
Ever since I was born, I've been trained to serve you.
See that?
Yes, I know this, but I would like to know about you. What do you like to do?
Whatever you like.
See that? And that's what men want. Because you want a woman that's going to keep the laws of God and be groomed to keep the laws of God. That is the value system. Men, I know, you know, men of God would die to have a woman that is groomed to keep the laws of God, because you can match values from day one. Over here in America, with modern day black women, it's hard to find a woman that will serve God with you. Okay, that has the same values. When you talk to most of these so-called black women, far too many of these black women in America, they disagree with what laws of God and values they're supposed to have and keep just to be compatible with a man. So now the household is divided over here in modern day Babylon, all right, Egypt, America, okay? You got these so-called black women who rather not keep the same values, and they rather disagree with what values the man has, okay? And if you agree with this, then drop a like and, you know, leave a comment. But let's just finish this out because I thought this was important to explain to my brother yesterday. Okay, I wanted to explain this to him, and I know a lot of so-called black men who don't care what values a woman have, long as she got a fat behind, long as she can damn perform sexually. Okay, so they're fornicating with most of these so-called black women today, and most of these black men today are fornicators because they're not upholding their birthright. Okay, so you're going to end up fornicating with these women. It's going to be very transactional because the men are not deciding to serve their higher purpose instead of fornicate. I remember when I met this woman and I told her sex is marriage according to the Bible, and she disagreed with that. And she was going to spend the evening with me until I said that. And I felt very good about myself because I'm not about to fornicate with a so-called black woman because she doesn't share the same values. Beautiful sister. Had the nice dreads. She was slim. She had brown skin. Beautiful woman. All right. Beautiful, slim, in shape. Beautiful, beautiful woman. But before I went any further with her, because I knew that it was going to lead to us engaging each other, I had to let her know up front. Sex is marriage, and she disagreed. She said I could do what I want to do with my vagina, and she disagreed with that, and she got turned off because sex is not marriage to these so-called black women in America. All right, they're 304s, they're hoes, they got the mind of a prostitute. They're, you know what I'm saying, they're toxic, they disagree with God, they disagree with the Bible, they disagree with things that they're supposed to be doing. So I kept it real, and I wasn't disappointed. I'm never disappointed when I lose a woman that doesn't agree with the laws of God. Okay, I rather challenge her value system with the laws of God. That's what I'm gonna be that's what I use when I vet a woman. Is I use the laws of God, and if she disagree with the laws of God, then she's not for me. Like this woman right here is for him. Okay, but he don't like that, so he goes to America. He finds this woman, and he finds a woman that's popular. Okay, and too many of the same types of women are popular. You know what I'm saying? They got a transactional mindset, or they like to be in a position of authority over the man. Okay, and that's not divine. Okay, that's non-traditional. So look, let's keep going.
What kind of music do you like?
Whatever kind of music you like.
See that? That is the perfect woman. The woman that likes what you like because you're the head and she's the tail. Okay? You're her head. The head of a man is the Most High. The head of a woman is the man. Okay? Let me get that. Let me get that real quick. Let me get that real quick. Okay? 11 and 3. Okay? But I would have you know, it's 1 Corinthians 11 and 3 through 16, of course, but the point is in 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man. Okay? So let's just focus on that. And believe me, in so-called America in 2023, women who are religious and who are not religious, far too many of these so-called black women will disagree with this right here. And they'll say, well, that doesn't mean that a woman got to be a slave and jump when he say jump and blah, 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 blah. Hey, man, yes, it does. Okay? Lord willing, a man won't have you do nothing like that, but you're going to be obedient. and women don't like to obey. You seen the video of the one so-called black woman who didn't even want to. She was at the altar with the so-called black man, and she refused to say that she'll obey. Okay, and even the preacher told her, we did go over this, and the husband thought it was funny. Now, when the husband laughed, I want to hit him over the head with a brick, because it's not funny that a woman refuses to obey you, and it's not funny that a woman refuses to admit that she will obey you. But she was so quick not to obey him, and she didn't even want to obey her vows. So this is what I'm telling the men, and this is what I was talking to my brother about. If a woman, a so-called black woman, won't obey you, then she's useless. Okay, because that completes the package. Okay, that's part of the package. Okay, you don't want a woman that's going to be sexual with you and she's being transactional with you, but she refuses to obey you, okay, and serve you. Okay, woman's purpose is to be a helpmate. That's what she was designed for. So if she disagrees with what she was designed for, that's a red flag, bro. Okay, it's not the woman's fault. That most if you ask most people, they'll say, yeah, it's the woman, it's the women. The men are crash test dummies because of the women. No, they're not. No, it's not. No, they're not. The men are not crash test dummies because of the women. The men are crash test dummies for the women because the men refuse to accept their position of power, which is their birthright. Okay? But I would not have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, and the head which is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man. And the head of Christ is Yahweh, God. Every man praying or prophesying having his head covered dishonoreth his head. Okay, so we're just going to go along with, you know what I'm saying, what the scripture says. Okay? I just think, it's when we over here in the West, in so-called America, with these man-made laws, okay, everything puts the woman above the man. Women have power that they would never have in the kingdom. They have power now in so-called America that they would never have in the kingdom. They wouldn't have the power to delete babies the way they delete babies. Okay? And the only reason abortion is being pushed the way it was being pushed is because the so-called black race is starting to grow large in numbers. Same way the Hebrews in Egypt were condemned for having too many children. You got more older white people and less younger white people, but you have more younger so-called black people and less older so-called black people. So it's opposite, okay? Because we're fruitful, okay? So-called blacks are going to have children whether they're together or not, which is not a good thing when you're having children and you're not together. But my point is, the younger so-called blacks outnumber the younger so-called whites, okay? Because the so-called whites' birth rates are dropping. So I didn't want to make this video too long, but I hope my point was edifying. Okay, it's not women. Women don't have that kind of power over men. Maybe these simps and perverts and whoremongers, okay, those types of men will get violent over women. And it's not the woman's fault. Of course, it's her fault lawfully. You know what I'm saying? Women are setting people up, calling other goons to come rob this man or whatever. That portion of it is the woman's fault. But I'm talking about men that like to stand by a woman that's out of order. Okay? It's not the woman's fault that the men stand there and allow her to be out of order. That's not the woman's fault. It's the man's fault. Okay? I hope I discern this correctly so that someone is edified about what I'm saying. Because when we talk about a man being in a position of power, this is the position of power that you're supposed to be in. Okay, keeping the laws and knowing your position biologically and divinely is your position of power. Okay, a woman knowing that you are her head. Okay, you problem solve for her. Okay, so-called black men are not just protectors and providers. Okay, I'm sick of hearing that because you got men tricking and they're living up to this transaction that these women are keeping you boxed in. She don't see your higher purpose. She's not for you. Okay, this woman on the video with Eddie Murphy, she recognized his higher purpose and it didn't upset her the way it has upset these Western women to hear about a man's higher purpose. The first thing these so-called black women are going to start doing is disagreeing. And they're going to be disagreeing and rebelling against their own higher purpose. Okay? The so-called black woman's higher purpose is to obey and to serve the man. Okay? So it's been reversed. Now you look around and the women got the men serving them. Okay? Usurping authority over the man. And that's the man's fault. That's not the woman's fault. That's the man's fault. Okay? If I let a woman assume power over me, that's not her fault. That's my fault. Okay? If I let a woman put a battery in my back and I want to get violent and crash out over this woman and she's not my wife, that's not her fault. That's my fault. Okay? I'll be damned if it's the woman's fault. They don't have that kind of power over men. It's the men that did what Eddie Murphy did. Don't like his birthright. Don't like his position of power, his divine purpose. That's where it starts. It doesn't start with a woman who refuses to obey. It doesn't start with a woman who refuses to serve her purpose, which is to be a helpmate and a wife first. Not a mother first, a wife first. Okay? Women that don't want to be wives are the majority of these 304s and prostitute-minded women. Okay? Who only settle for a transaction. And then it's the men's fault who cater to that type of mindset. Take them on dates, making it about money, or trying to live up to this provider and protector thing. But she don't look at you as a problem solver. She's not going to let you problem solve for her and give her instructions to follow. Okay, she don't look at you like you're supposed to be giving her instructions for her to follow. She don't have to do what you say. Okay, so it's the men's fault who choose these women who only look at a man as a protector and a provider, but not a problem solver to give her instructions and to lead her. Okay, I've spoken to far too many black women who's looking for a leader, a role model for her children that she had out of wedlock, but she's not looking for a man to be her leader, okay, to lead her. So if I choose a woman that does not look at me as her leader, then that's my fault because she's not for me. I'm not about to fulfill this role of a stepfather for these children that are not mine. I'm a leader of women, okay? That's what I want to explain. It's a position of power because according to the scripture, I'm first as the man and the woman is second. Okay, I'm first because that's my position of power. Men who put women first, that's not the woman's fault. That's his fault. He's wrong for that. All right, women are not first, man. All right, men are first. Okay, the head of every man is Christ and the head of the woman is the man. Okay, she should be able to think for herself, but she shouldn't be able to think for you men. Okay, no woman thinks for me. I think for myself and I could think for her too. All right, if she don't like it, then she can be independent, which is without a husband, without a man, without being covered. Okay, men have to enforce these laws, and he has to enforce his position of power, which is righteous and divine. All right. You got men who are deciding to not be in their position of power because they feel like their position, like Eddie Murphy in Coming to America, he felt like his birthright was, he was uncomfortable. Okay. He didn't like that. But then he learned the hard way when he went to America and met these modern day so-called black women, and they weren't even virgins. And they married him without even being a virgin. All right. At least this woman jumping up on one leg was a virgin. All right. She was groomed from birth to be a wife. He couldn't settle for that. He wanted a woman to have a mind of her own. And he came to America and learned that these women have a mind of their own. Yes, they do. And it comes with a negative price. Okay. She wasn't even a virgin. She didn't even tell him she wasn't a virgin. And she said everybody has their secrets when after she got married. And he had 2 daughters. So it was like a curse. He had these daughters, no son, and he had a legacy, and he needed a son. That's what I remember him saying in that movie. I didn't even complete the whole part 2 of Coming to America because I was so turned off by a lot of these mistakes that he made. Marrying his woman, then he went over to America and fornicated and had a son out of wedlock. His son didn't even understand what was going on. It was tacky. It was raggedy. All right. It was his single mother stuff, raggedy. All right. Wedlock stuff. You know what I'm saying? It just got ugly. His father was the last of a dying breed. His father did it correctly. All right. So I just wanted to point this out because a position of power to a man is divine. All right. And women who disagree with that, they're not virtuous women. All right. Peace.